Hey everyone, I just want to film Munch wrap-up part 1 before the Buzzword Readathon. I read 23 books. 11 of them are Babysitter Club books, which will be in separate wrap-ups. So the first book I finished was a reread of Everything Everything by Nicola Yoon. I listened to this in an audiobook, and I have to say I was a little disappointed. I gave it a 5-star the first time I read it, and I think I would bump it down to like a 3-star. And I don't know if it's just because it was an audiobook or I just wasn't feeling it as much as when I first read it like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. And in this one, Madeline is stuck at home due to an illness, and her mom is her physician, and she has a nurse, and a boy moves in with his family next door, and there's like a love story there. And there's a few twists and turns in it. Like I said, I'd give it 3 stars. I finished the Grisha trilogy, which was the last book was Runen Rising by Leigh Bardugo. I give this one 1 stars. And I would say it was a solid finale. I adored the characters and the group of allies and the dynamics. So 4 stars. Pretty good trilogy, I would say. And I read Saint Anything by Sarah Dessen. And in this one, Sydney's brother is in prison for drunk driving and penalizing a teenager who is walking at the time. And her parents restrict how much she's able to do because of that. She switches schools from a private to a public one, and she meets Layla and Mac, who also go to the school, but she meets them while eating at the family pizza place. This slow burn read had promise. I mean, it starts out a cute love story, and the plot hints at a lot of family stuff to deal with, but it could have been done. It could have done so much more. I also didn't think the ending was satisfying for me. I did like the characters, and some were more frustrating than others, so I'm giving it 3 stars. I think I'm done with Sarah Dessen. I've tried several of her books, and I just haven't given them anything higher than a 3 stars, so that's it. She's just not the author for me. I also finished Beautiful Broken Things by Sarah Bernard. Look at that pretty cover. And in this one, Caddy goes to a private school, her best friend Rosie goes to another school, and Rosie has a new friend, Suzanne, that she wants Caddy to get to know better. At first, Caddy is jealous, but she finally gives Suzanne a chance, and Suzanne has a troubled past. But this book is about friendship and exploring different family dynamics. There is trigger warnings for abuse and suicide. This hard-hitting contemporary was 3 stars for me. I look forward to reading more of her books, and even though they were short chapters, it took a while to get through the book. I also read Fence Volume 2, and I gave this one 4 stars. I'm really enjoying it. It's a very slow burn about fencing at school, and right now, both of these boys, as well as others, are trying to meet the team through a competition. I read Isle of the Lost by Miss Melissa De La Cruz. This quick read shows Male, Evie, Jay, and Carlos on the island, and snippets of their childhood and home life with the villain parents are. It all looks a little. It also looks a little at Ben and his duties as he's preparing to be king. Maleficent tells Male to go find her scepter, and Male takes unlikely companions along, also known as Jay, Evie, and Carlos. It's a cute story that makes readers feel sorry for the villain kids. I mean, it's a good beginning to the series, but I wasn't too impressed with it, so I gave it 3.5 stars. I also looked at Return to Isle of the Lost, which is the second book in that series, and you're supposed to read that after Descendants 1. And I gave that one 2 stars. For me, it was badly structured for writing. Most of the action happens in the last 40 pages or so. And that's like the main conflict, is the last 40 pages of the 300-some page book. And things don't match up with the novels and the movies. And I just found the plot and action to be too convenient and a bit boring. So 2 stars. And then I've completed that series that's out right now with Rise of the Isle of the Lost, and I gave this one 3.5 stars. So this one, I liked it because you get a bit more of Jane and Carlos, and the start of a hint of a romance, which I'm all about that in Descendants too. And then there's more of Mel and Ben's relationship, which I also enjoyed because it felt more real and I bought it a little bit more. However, again, the tension in the climax just really isn't that much. I mean, it does get a little bit of a backstory for Descendants 2 for the movie. So I read all 3 of those books, and my advice is, unless you are a kid who just wants to read more about them, I would just skip the series, in my opinion. For me, it was a waste of time, but I read it because I was challenged by my youngest friend. Speaking of my youngest friend, the last book he challenged me to read was Judy, Moody, and Stink, The Big Bad Blackout for lunch. And in this one, there's a hurricane. Judy, Stink, and her parents are at home, and Grandma Lou comes to stay. The power goes out, and the book becomes ways to entertain themselves without technology, including hurricane stories, real and not real. It was funny, cute, and had good illustrations. My big problem with this book is that it had kids playing with a Ouija board, and this should not have been in a children's book. It just is not appropriate, and the grandma seemed to be okay with it. So it would have been a 4-star read for me because I really surprisingly enjoyed it, but I bumped it down to 3 stars because of that. I also picked up my first Jen Bennett book, The Anatomical Shape of My Heart, Shape of a Heart, and this unique read. Beth lives with her mom and older brother in a 1-bedroom apartment. She's a senior in high school, hoping for an art scholarship and a way to pay for the college. She draws medical things such as cadavers and wants to enter a drawing in a local art show to get money for the college. One night on a night bus, she meets a mysterious boy she instantly is attracted to, and this is a complex love story. Both have family issues to work through. I'm giving it 3 stars. It's a unique plot line and characters. I've never read anyone about someone that draws cadavers and that. And it explores different issues, but sometimes it felt a little bit instant lovey, and they broke so many rules, I was frustrated with them. I'm excited to pick up more Jen Bennett books in the future, though. I also finally finished Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas, and in this one, Selena's a slave that was once a well-known assassin. The Crown Prince retrieves her to be the King's champion in a competition. If she wins, she becomes the King's champion for 4 years, and then regains her freedom. And there's also the Captain of the Guard, Kale, who has to train her to be ready. I'm giving it 4 stars. I am looking forward to finishing the series. I really like it. Probably not as much as the Court of Thorn, can't even talk again today. A Court of Thorn and Roses series. I also finished The Winter's Curse, and I'm giving this one 3 stars. And in this one, I don't think it's a dystopian. I honestly don't know what to call this. But there is a world that Kestrel is the main character, and she is the she's the general's daughter, and it seems like her dad and her have a complex relationship, excuse me. And she buys a slave in the beginning, which is Auden, and they get to know each other, and there's like 2 sides to the story. I feel like there's not enough world and setting. I'm kind of finding it hard to understand it more, and I'm hoping there's more in later books. And it felt like a little bit of instant love. I mean, I was invested in the characters, so I'm giving it 3 stars, and I'm hoping to finish the series before the end of the month. The last book that I'm going to talk about today is The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. And in this one, the author argues that there are 4 agreements that will help set you free to live a happy life. It does reference God, for those who need to know that. It offers some good thought-provoking ideas. Some I agree with, some I do not. So I'm giving that 3 stars. I'm trying to read at least 1 fiction book a month, Last year, I challenged myself to read like 20 to 25, and it got to be too much, and I was just not enjoying them. So my new plan was to read one a month, or try to, even if I just DNF it, it still counts for me. Alright, those are all the books I read for the first part of the month, besides those Babysitter Club books. How's the reading month going? Thanks for watching, and have a great day.